Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to today's Kyle Seraphin Show. It is Monday. It is March the 16th. Welcome aboard. What an interesting time. Let's see about the highlights here. The highlights are MAGA has now parted ways with Tucker Carlson. So that's good to know. Potentially a treason allegation or a FISA violation. The CIA making criminal referrals. This is the claim that Tucker Carlson made over the weekend. I think that's kind of intense, so we're going to hear about that. I'll give you guys a little bit of insight on how that can actually mechanically happen, because I think it's a real possibility. Only when you have something called weaponized government. Last week, I think the biggest, in the last 2 weeks, I'll say this. We had a sort of bombshell revelation, and I don't like to use those words, but we had a revelation that our Federal Bureau of Investigation, which many people experienced the ugly end of it over the last 5 years. And it didn't matter whether you were a pro-life Catholic or you were someone who prayed outside of abortion clinics, or whether you were at January 6th and you thought that you were able to go out and exercise your First Amendment rights, and then you found out that you were actually going to be prosecuted by your government for it. A lot of people experienced the really ugly end of this. And we found out that there is a thing called prohibited access files that allows our federal government, and specifically our FBI, to hide what they do. Now, a lot of you guys say, well, yeah, of course they do things that we don't know. It's a little different for you to hear that and think that that has always been the case than it is for me to hear it, having been on the inside and having never heard of these programs. And then to know what the name is. So that was 2 weeks ago. And in the last week, we had kind of a little shocking unveiling of the Trump administration pulling down Agenda 47, which you guys are going to be shocked, but I'm going to talk about it again today because I think it's relevant. And every time I think about it, I have a new little insight onto what I think is going on there. They pulled down Agenda 47, which was a list of 20 core promises to, quote unquote, make America great again. That is what MAGA was supposed to be. If you were going to define what MAGA was in principle, you would go to the words by the people who used that term, who ran under the banner of Make America Great Again, and that would be Donald Trump. And so, yes, it is his plan. It is his name. You may put it in your bio, but you're not MAGA. It's a marketing campaign for one man who is now in the president. Here's the big thing about that agenda. I'll put it all up front. The majority of the MAGA agenda is domestic. In fact, it is almost explicitly to the cost of international affairs. It is interested in doing things domestically. And when you take down your 20 promises, I don't know that it explicitly, but it implicitly signals that we are now abandoning the domestic agenda. And we're going to do overseas entanglements, conflicts that will keep people's attention. We'll have a divide. We've got Laura Loomer going to India on a freaking apology tour. I don't know what happened to the movement that a lot of people were part of, but there's been a reason that since the beginning, I'm not really a joiner to begin with. If somebody was like, hey, do you want to be part of our team here? When I was in college, I didn't want to join a fraternity. We had an expression, GDI, the gosh darn independence, right? That was the thing. That's how I always felt. I never wanted to be joining something where you ceded your individualism and then you had to sign on to something that other people do, because other people don't represent me. There's a lot of dumb people in the world. Many of you have met them. Many of you work for those people. And when you're surrounded by dumb people, you go like, I just don't think this is going to be the time that I want to outsource my identity to somebody else who's going to define it. So every time that I've had a reporter from the left or the right try to define me as a MAGA podcaster, it's very irritating to me. I've rejected that label since the beginning. I've always said it. And people were like, why do you have to keep telling us you're not a Donald Trump supporter? Because I don't support anybody, period, except my wife and my kids. That's it. Those are the only people that I support. And I do that like manually. Everything else should be based on principles. Like I cheer on people when they do a good job and I criticize people when they don't do a good job. And if we did that as a country, we'd be in so much better shape. It would make so much more sense for people to say, all I want are outcomes. Crazily enough, there was a guy who I put my life in the hands of when I started this public crusade, which is what this is. This is a crusade against government lack of accountability. It's against weaponized government. This is why I have a public space. And I went to a guy named Dan Bongino, and he said things that made a lot of sense to me. Not because I followed him, not because I outsourced my opinion, not because I'm part of somebody's army, but because when you say you should follow principles and not people, you should look for outcomes and not politicians, I would go, yeah, that makes sense. When something happens, we don't have to immediately have a knee-jerk turn reaction. We can take a deep breath and pause. In the military and in the law enforcement mindset, they might even call that a tactical pause, where you would go, something just happened, take a second, assess the situation, see the totality of the events, and see if you have a proper response to it. This is the way that I always operate. I try not to be a knee-jerk reaction guy. Whenever I write something and I'm like, that's really emotional. Do I need to be that emotional? I don't think you do. We're watching the divide. There's a Tucker and a Trump divide happening today. And there are people picking sides on it. And the amazing thing is that a lot of people are choosing personality and they're not choosing principle. And I made a comment about this over the weekend, and I'm going to say it again. So many people are not rooted in principle. And when that happens, you will find yourself unanchored and you'll have to find out, oh, when mom and dad are fighting, who do I go with? Well, how about you just cling to the sanity of the family? If we had people that cared about America and the best part of America, then it would actually mean that you knew what American principles were. There's a lot of emotionality that's going on. This is in the social media space. And then I go and look at the news, and what is the news covering? The primary news story on at least 3 of the major news sites was the Oscars, right? Like, I don't think I've seen an Oscar in forever. I have absolutely no idea. There was the 98th Oscars, completely irrelevant to my life, probably irrelevant to most of you. So anyway, we're going to talk about this divide, this wild break that Donald Trump has made with his previous statements and promises to people. And then where I think it actually goes, he said it. He's told you what team he's on. He's on Team Mark Levin. Team Mark Levin is Team Lindsey Graham. That's MAGA now. So you have to make a choice if you identify that way, like how that fits. And it also sounds like Team MAGA is no longer interested in the domestic agenda. That's a pretty wild space to be in. All right, let's talk about something that is like the most simple thing in the world. It is the most easy thing in the world. Getting a glass of water. How many of us do not do that enough times during the day? covepure.com/KYLE. That's the website. When you're missing your workouts, if you're not maintaining any of your health, the first thing you notice is that you feel like crap. You end up with a headache. Poor hydration, whether it's hot or cold outside, can always be an issue. One of the reasons why is because water doesn't always taste that great. If you live where I live, it tastes like sulfur, and that's pretty awful. We've eliminated that problem. We have 2 different ways to do it. I got a drip filter downstairs. Many of you guys have that. It was actually more expensive than the Cove Pure unit. And then I make sure that I'm setting my kids up straight by getting them a Cove Pure unit that sits up in their bathroom. It's upstairs, so we don't have to go down into the kitchen. It's the thing I hear every single night before they go to bed. They even take water bottles to bed. Guys, it's like the most simple thing in the world, but your dehydration or lack thereof will affect your energy. It affects your focus, your metabolism. It can your general sense of well-being. If you guys want clear, clean, pure water, we had a caller call in on the Thursday call-in show last week and said, really appreciate Cove Pure. I bought one. It's nice that water just tastes like water, which should be almost nothing. That means that the technology they have works. 99.9% of contaminants have been removed. You're going to get rid of things like PFAs and microplastics and pharmaceutical residue, fluoride. You're going to get extra minerals and garbage out. There's a thing that tells you how much is in there called TDS, not that TDS. It's total dissolved solids, and it removes all kinds of things like sulfurs and all kinds of stuff that tastes terrible, calcified nonsense, and you just get water. It's really straightforward and simple. So if you guys want a machine that's going to put it out in hot or cold, choosing your own temperature, that chooses the size so you don't have to have it overflow, really good with kids. And it also just tastes good. Check them out. $200 off right now. Covepure.com/KYLE. COVEPURE.com/KYLE. There's a link in today's show description. And if you ever forget it, there's a link at the bottom of every show to our locals page at KyleSeraphin.com. The pinned post there, the first post, is always going to be a list of all of our sponsors for the month and all the affiliates we're working with. So check them out. Covepure.com/KYLE. Save $200 on their unit. Let's do this thing today we're talking about. Let's get it done. I did my best version of like a New York Post headline. Trump Tucker Tiff exposes fatal flaws in MAGA movement, right? The New York Post loves alliteration. I like alliteration too. Alliteration is that repetition of the first consonant when you just have the same thing, the Trump, Tucker, Tiff, the t-t-t, that thing. It feels good sometimes to hear things say that way. I want to go kind of back in time a little bit. And I'm going to play you guys a bunch of clips of just some weird things that I saw. This is Axios, which we're told is where Donald Trump goes for news. I say that because I have it on pretty good authority that he starts off his day by reading Axios. This is an old story from Axios written by Jonathan Swan, and it dates back to July of 2020. That was in the middle of the summer of love. That was in the middle of the BLM movement. Trump's Tucker mind meld. You guys can see why I got into a alliterative mood real early on today. If you want to understand the rhetorical roots of Trump's Independence Day speech from Mount Rushmore, go back and watch Tucker Carlson's monologues for the last 6 weeks. Trump, or rather his speechwriter, Stephen Miller, framed the president's opposition to the Black Lives Matter protest movement using the same imagery that Tucker Carlson has been laying out night after night on Fox. Below are the grabs from Carlson's monologues over the past month. Carlson said, "For more than a month, mobs of violent, crazy people have roamed this country, terrorizing citizens and destroying things." Donald Trump said, "Angry mobs are trying to tear down statues of our founders, deface our most sacred memorials, and unleash a wave of violence and crime in our cities." All right. Tucker Carlson said, "The education cartel, enforced on your children, enforces their demands." Donald Trump said, "In our schools, our newsrooms, even our corporate boardrooms, there's a new far-left fascism that demands absolute allegiance." Carlson says, "Few people could have ever imagined that Teddy Roosevelt would be canceled. Roosevelt would be the most popular president in American history." Trump says, "One of their political weapons is cancel culture." And in a separate part of the speech, Theodore Roosevelt exemplified the unbridled confidence of our national culture and identity. The American people will never relinquish the bold, beautiful, and untamed spirit of Theodore Roosevelt. There's more on this. You guys can find this. I'll give you guys a link to read it if you like. It's an easy read, and you can compare it in your own mind. Going back to 2020. I'll put this in the comment section. It's usually the first pinned comments, which are the references that I use. This is on Rumble. This is on YouTube. You guys can find that. And for those of you who are looking for the show on YouTube from Friday, it got removed. Some of you guys let me know that it happened while it happened. YouTube not only removed it, they also denied an appeal for our show. And the reason that they claimed that they removed it was because, I don't know. They gave me a video clip that said where Steve Friend and I were talking about losing things in my house, that I own so many guns that like sometimes I hide them from myself on accident, and I store them in places and then I can't find them in the house. So I go on scavenger hunts looking for them. And apparently that was enough to take down the show. I don't know why. For all of you that says YouTube sucks, maybe so. But its platform is better, and Rumble sucks too. Unfortunately, we're in this time when I don't like to be this guy who just goes like, everything is crap. It all is garbage. I could sound like Mark Levin. Mark Levin sounds like an angry, like aging, unsexed lesbian with a pot belly. When I used to like thumb through the dial when I was listening on the radio, and you'd come to like a Mark Levin, and you'd be like, ugh, "Who's this guy? Why is he yelling? Why is he yelling at everybody? Why is he yelling like that? Why is his voice like this? Why does he sound like he's always going to..." Then I would just turn it off and go, I don't want that. Not in my free time. Sorry. I don't know why they took down our show, but let it be known, there is a cancel culture. There is a censorship. There is a populist movement that I think Tucker Carlson represented. I believe that Tucker and Trump, they weren't necessarily listening to each other, or you didn't see Stephen Miller listening to Tucker Carlson to get his talking points. What was happening is that was the normal discourse of regular people who watched what happened with BLM in 2020. And amusingly, amusing to me, the reason why I could never get behind the MAGA thing, why you could never see me put on the hat, is because none of these people ever, they never just break from a previous thing without giving you tons of warning. You know, I never liked the way that Donald Trump talked about things. If Donald Trump was the winner that he said he was, he wouldn't have had to tell anybody he was a winner. During the first term, and don't get me wrong, he got my vote 2 out of 3 times. The first time I didn't vote for him at all. I voted for Gary Johnson because I thought that was the right answer, just because I thought both of them sucked. I thought Hillary and Trump did. Trump did okay, but he really kind of blew it in the fourth quarter of his first presidency. And 2020 was the year when that went down. That was the year when I looked around and I went like, holy crap, I better not live anywhere near Washington, D.C. I better not live near these people that work in government. I'm going to do everything I can to take a post as far away as possible from this political center because this place is rancid. And the decision-making process, whether you got Glenn Youngkin for a few minutes in Virginia or not, you've got all of the areas that surround Washington, D.C. are avowed communistic, like wild leftist authoritarians. And you'd think that the answer on the right would be rugged individualism to combat this sort of like authoritarian collectivism. The commie left, if you want to call it that, or whatever the sort of things are, like they believe that the greater good is the answer as long as the greater good is what they think also benefits them. And they don't realize that the communist movements always swallow their own first. They find the people who are the least aggressive in their own movement because it builds momentum and it makes them stronger. So it's kind of like the alligator is going to, you hope the alligator is going to attack you last. It's going to attack the people that are closest and easiest first. And that's you if you're not strong enough on the left. The answer on the right should have been the opposite. Rugged individualism, self-reliance, individualistic freedom, small government, etc. And unfortunately, what it is how do we just control this alligator? What is the way that we're able to be the most like capable wielders of the problem? They never want to just take the thing down. So we get into this really bad spot. And it was really obvious to me when I was there. I was like, holy crap. I mean, I think if you'd asked me in 2020, are we going to vote our way out of it? I think the answer would have been no. If you'd asked me that in 2022, probably no. 2024, definitely no. And today, still no. I don't think that you can vote your way out of this because what we've seen is that both political parties represent not Americans. Let me give you a quick example from our current events of how I know that it's not representing Americans. There is an overwhelming amount of support, racially, politically, regardless of who you talk to in America. People think that it's totally reasonable that you would show photo ID to vote in an election. And I think if you got right down to it, if you were like, hey, do you think paper ballots or machine ballots are more secure? And you ask them a few more questions like, what happens when you fill something out on a machine and you send it off to be counted? Do you think that that process is 100% perfect? Is it vulnerable to hacking if it's on a machine versus if it's just like a bunch of paper sheets? I think regular people would know. By the way, the rest of the world knows this. One of the things that happens when we quote unquote overthrow somebody else's, authoritarian regimes and we help quote unquote install democracy there is we have 1 day, 1 vote, paper ballot voting. We make that happen for other countries overseas. If we install a democracy, which is really problematic, we insist on a few things for election security. 1 day, 1 vote, paper ballots, auditable and accountable. We do the opposite here. And if you want to know how I know we can't really vote our way out of it, it's because we have elected representatives that are not willing to represent anybody when you look at the polls. The polls say that there should be no question about whether or not we need voter ID. And yet it's still a political talking point. There's still enough people on the political left that think that they can stay in office and oppose it. And there's people on the political right who think they can kick the buck down and say that it's too hard to get every single one of their people to overcome it. This is from CNN. This is just basic polling. This is how I know you're not going to get out of it with just a vote. This is my number one evidence for today.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of Black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So something of a
So it's something of a non-issue that is an issue because we can't even get really simple stuff through. If you guys thought that, we're going to solve the problem by not addressing the big problem. What was the big problem in 2020? Tucker Carlson's talking about BLM. Donald Trump was talking about education and the cabal and cancel culture and all this other nonsense. And whenever you get down to the bottom of it, it all comes down to one simple, totally reasonable thing, which is that we're not represented in elections. You can't vote your way out of it if your vote doesn't actually matter, if it doesn't actually get counted. And you can't actually prove that it did get counted. I've got a ballot for California voting, and I have no idea whether or not they're accurately reporting whether or not I voted. I've gotten a ballot for California voting for every single election that's happened since 2009. And in that time, I joined the military, and I lived in Texas. I lived in New Mexico. I lived in Connecticut. I briefly lived in Florida for a few months. I was in Biloxi, Mississippi for a period of time, I think. I'm trying to think what else. I was in Arizona for 6 months, and then again in Texas, and I was in Connecticut for 6 months during that time. During the time since I've left California, I've been in 8 states, and I still get a ballot, and I still can't get them to turn it down. I can't get them to turn it off because they want that. So if there's cheating, and I think everybody recognizes that there is, and you can't even get the Senate to do something that, 80, 90% of people think is reasonable? Why would you be able to vote your way out? The other thing is this. Donald Trump's first presidency gave everybody a look at what it meant to be MAGA. I'm going to make a really unpleasant observation to you all. The reason that we should have known, and this is COVID era. Remember, 2020 was kind of a weird time. Starting in March and April, the country shut down, 2 weeks to slow the spread. I am the science, in the same way that Donald Trump is now saying, I am the MAGA. All of these things went down. And you guys want to know how I knew that Donald Trump would eventually screw over people? And this is why my vote for him was transactional. I just want the pardon for the Steve Bakers, for the Enrique Tarrios, for the Joe Biggs, for the Don Pizzolas, for the Owen Schroyers. I want the people that were really screwed over on January 6th. I wanted them to be less screwed over if possible. Stuart Rose. The reason I knew that we had a real big problem is because Donald Trump could have aggressively, preemptively pardoned all the people from January 6th, even if it was getting some people that were garbage, because he should have known. He should have known what that animal would have done. He didn't. They already went after him with Russiagate and the others. Donald Trump should have recognized that he could have pardoned every single J6er and stopped the horrific weaponization of our country and our law enforcement apparatus against his supporters, not my supporters, his supporters that showed up for him. He could have fixed that before he left office, between January 6th and January 20th. And he didn't do it because the man doesn't like to act. And he doesn't like to act when it's so obvious what's going on and what's wrong. And then to get back into office, claiming that there was malfeasance in the 2020 election, to hear that we, those of us that were out there telling the honest story, not from a partisan perspective, but saying that our weaponized government has decided to choose outcomes over process, had chose that they were going to pick the decided goal instead of just trying to do the job. They were going to predetermine how things were going to work out. Where are the whistleblowers? They got screwed over right away too. And it's not just me, it's others too. Steve Friend still doesn't work for the FBI, and he got quote unquote hired back because our guys were in charge. Patriots in charge. Nobody will know what's coming. The white hats are taking over. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer. Keep Lindsey Graham really close to you and say that Mark Levin is the greatest. I'm going to show you this. This is from Donald Trump over the weekend. There were allegations that Mark Levin has a small phallus by Megyn Kelly. There's this like podcast Tiff that's going on. So Donald Trump decided to tell you who he sides with. And he sides with Mark Levin, a great American patriot, a truly great American patriot, he says. Donald Trump will go to war over friends as long as they're still at Fox News. As long as they still do Fox News stuff. I'm just shaking my head at the people who have actually like put something on the line. And this is the guy that you want to go support. Mark Levin, a warmonger, a shrill, just pot-bellied turd of a boomer, going out there every night saying ridiculous things. I've got great examples of that. Calling Donald Trump a Franklin Delano Roosevelt type figure. FDR basically broke this country, people. I mean, he broke it. He turned it into what it is today in a way that you cannot deny. You had the centralization of executive authority. You had Congress break under his term. You had the closest thing to an American lifetime dictator or president that we ever had. And Mark Levin is trying to make comparisons that Donald Trump is like that. Mark Levin, the great conservative. All right, I'm going to read you Donald Trump's True Social post, which came in. It came in at 10:30 p.m. last night. Kid you not. Mark Levin, a truly great American patriot, is somewhat under siege by other people with far less intellect, capability, and love for our country. Mark is tough, strong, and brilliant. Hence the nickname, The Great One, conceived of by our MAGA friend, this sounds like a mafia thing, the wonderful Sean Hannity, who's also a fat piece of garbage. After years of dealing with Mark in legal and media and other capacities, Mark would often do Sean's show, speaking as a lawyer, and Sean realized then, as others do, that he was special. Mark was not looking to do television, radio, or anything else. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. That's not true. You don't become a special contributor to any of these programs without looking to become a contributor to these programs. For those of you who don't know, Dan Bongino got out of the Secret Service and was running around handing out business cards to every single person with a microphone and a camera so that he could get his name and his face in front of these things so that he could do what he's doing right now. Mark Levin is the same. They're all the same in this way. They all are seeking radio, television, media appearances. I'll tell you that I wasn't. Until I was. I wasn't because I was happy not being a public figure. Right up into the point when I needed to be a public figure because if I said the first thing out loud, I was going to have to keep talking. Mark Levin, again, per Donald Trump. He's a true conservative, capital C. Yeah, he is. He's part of Con Inc. I saw Hugh Hewitt out there propping him up as well. It's all of the old legacy media trying to be current and relevant. The Sean Hannity limited hangout. Let's start a podcast. We got to be part of the new media because we're the old media and everyone knows that we're all shills. It's a house of cards where they all support each other. And Donald Trump's part of it, it turns out. Mark Levin is a true conservative, an intellect, and far smarter than those who criticize him. But above all, he's a man of great wisdom and common sense who loves our country. This is Donald Trump, the man who said he has smarter blood than Tom Massey, who's invented more things in a weekend than Donald Trump has ever invented. It's just shockingly dumb. When you hear others unfairly attack Mark, remember that they're jealous and angry human beings whose sway is much less than the public understands. It goes on and on and on and on about nonsense because Donald Trump is a petty, vindictive dude who just basically wants to put this crap out there. And what happened is pretty clearly, Mark Levin cried that Megyn Kelly said he had a micro penis. And he made a phone call to either Donald Trump or someone close to him and said, I need Donald Trump to give me some top cover here because I am getting beat up on social media. I'm out here knob slobbing the president every single day. Can he back me up? Wait, can he back me up? I need him to back me up.
I need Donald Trump to come to my aid and back me up.
At Columbia University and NYU and then other universities all over the country, we had to sit through and watch contentious protests, rioters, violence, anti-Semitism, anti-Americanism,
Anti-Semitism,
the burning of the American flag,
They burned the flag.
the
They
carrying
burned
of the
Israel.
Hamas flag and the Islamic Jihad flag,
And
and the Students for Justice in Palestine, a front group for the enemy. And all that.
enemy.
We had to watch this. We were told about First Amendment rights day in and day out.
Day
The
in.
chasing of Jewish students, the attack on the NYPD, the attack on other police forces. And we were watching a contentious weekend here when these right-wingers showed up to protest Muslims. No, these people showed up, whomever they are, however they're labeled, to challenge the violent Islamist enemy within and to prove the point, even though that wasn't the purpose, to prove the point, these explosives were thrown at them.
I was raised in the Catholic Church. I've been surrounded by Catholic people my whole life. I've known Catholic people. I've known other people too. I went to I went to high school in Dallas. I went to middle school in Dallas. A lot of Baptists, a lot of evangelicals, a lot of Protestants, whatever. I have never once been like
Anti-American, anti-Catholic, anti-Cybersecurity.
like I've never once immediately gone like, if you're against my country, then you're also against my religion. It's the weirdest thing in the world to watch this happen. I guess the strangest thing is I had this epiphany because across social media right now, people are going like, it's the Jews, which I think is ignorant and stupid. It really is. I think it is. Now, you start talking about the country of Israel and why that little tiny place has such an outside influence on American politicians. That actually is a worthwhile question because they say it over and over again. Israel, Israel. They're like, go out there saying it. And that's bizarre. Jewish people bring on, like Jewish people like Mark Levin. I don't know that all Jewish people, there's probably a lot of people that I end up dealing with that I have no idea if they were raised Jewish or they are Jewish. I guess Steve Friend's got a Jewish mother. Like, I don't know. And I don't care. It's not relevant. But if you want to be the Mark Levin types where you're like
Anti-American, anti-Semitism,
and you want to do that, you make people hate you because you're obnoxious. You're an obnoxious person. And people go like, oh, is that, well, I don't know what it is that you're crying about, but I actually now agree with the people that hate you because you suck. Like your voice is awful. Your presentation is terrible. You seem like a rotten, obnoxious, whiny little bitch. And so I agree with the other people. Like I'm just as a contrarian, I do. The funniest thing in the world is that behavior brings on the dislike because people go like, whatever it is you're complaining about, I don't like you. Do you know where the exact opposite, where it should actually come from? This is funny because there is a great example of how to be something that people go, I'm going to be really mean about you because I don't like what you're doing. And you can actually turn it. The Mormons do it. The Mormons do it really, really well. The Mormons are a punchline to jokes all the time, regularly. They're kind of a strange, and nothing against people who are Mormon like individually, but like from the outside, it looks like a very weird culty version of adapted Christianity. Like you took Christianity and then you made it into something that it's not. Fine. But here's what I do know about Mormon people, because I've met a bunch of Mormon people, and they all individually, on a one-on-one basis, tend to be super funny, humble, and they understand that people look at you and go like, you're Mormon? And they're like, yeah, like, but like, you know, I'm not like one of those Mormons, but like, yeah, there's a reputation and they understand it. And so when you come out there and you make fun of them, they made entire musicals. Like, what is it? Like, was it, Latter-day Saints, the musical or whatever the hell it was? It was a whole musical making fun of Mormons, and the Mormons took out an ad in their program. They took out an ad and just said, if you'd like to learn more about the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, look us up. Here's our website. Here's how you find it. That's the right answer. The right answer is if you're mad about us, maybe learn more. We're not offended. It's okay for you to be mad at us. They diffuse it. And Mark Levin types and all the people that go like, if you have a problem with me, then you're the problem and you're not American. Like everyone just goes like, shut the hell up forever. Nobody, like, I agree with everybody who hates you is right. I just agree with that now. It's crazy. And then you run to daddy and you tell the president of the United States, people are being mean to me and they're making fun of my penis size when I'm like a boomer. I'm a 60-something-year-old pot-bellied, balding Jewish guy on TV, on Fox News with a huge microphone. Then what? We're supposed to well, Donald Trump said Mark Levin's great, so that means everybody else is bad. Tucker's bad. Megyn Kelly's bad. Like, I don't even like Megyn Kelly, but she's right on this one. It's just like that. I can't even believe that. I can't even believe that upset you, unless it hit too close to home. People will make fun of you for something when you're in the public eye, and you'll just go, so what? I can walk away from this right now. I can turn off my phone and not be on Twitter or Facebook or whatever the other social medias are, and I can literally just walk out and get my kids a hug and have a 2-year-old that's got like having a meltdown about something, like she doesn't have a purple jacket on right now. You can go to real problems. Where is the purple jacket, and how come we don't have a pink sweater? Those are the real problems in real life. I guess that guy just doesn't have it. So all he's got is like his podcast set there, which, if you guys don't know, like this is fake. This is just a wall that I built. Same as Mark Levin's. It's just a wall that sits behind him that's supposed to look good. It's just really funny. We're going to get into more of this stuff. I got a whole bunch of these videos. This all comes down to the idea of all this unserious infighting BS results in really dangerous things, which is going to come up to the Agenda 47 bit, where our government, run by petty, tyrannical authoritarians on the political right, instead of on the left, can end up in putting you into prison. And you know how I know? Because some of you know J6ers. Some of you are J6ers. We just lived through 5 years of examples of showing that if you don't get a shot, then you're canceled from your job that you spent maybe a decade getting ready to do. I spent 10 years prepping and working in a field, and I can no longer do that job. I can no longer be in law enforcement in any way, shape, or form because I chose to say, I'm not going to get this thing. It's not for me. Some of you, nurses, doctors, emergency medical technicians, firefighters, police officers, you all lost your jobs because you were like, I'm not getting that thing. No. That means I don't get to work here anymore? That just tells you exactly how little this job should mean to me. You've proven that. The COVID psyop, the J6 problem, where our government decided to come after people who were just standing there. If they went after just people who fought with cops, you'd all have our blessing. We'd be like, yeah, Jake Lang, he's an a-hole. Put him in prison. Fine. Give him 5 years. Whatever. Oh, some people broke a window. Fine. Make them pay for it. Give them community service. Tell them not to do it again. Oh, they've never done anything like that before and they're in their 60s? Maybe something weird was going on. Let's solve this problem the way that we did in 2020 for all the people that were rioting, talking about what happened in BLM. We saw a massively disproportionate answer. And what we found is that the political right is willing to cry about it, even when they have the power to fix it. They don't fix it. And that's how I know we're not voting our way out. How encouraging is that? Not encouraging at all. Thanks a lot, Kyle. Okay. You know what else is also not encouraging? When people try to scam you, they try to steal from you. Check out my friends over at patriot-protect.com/KYLE. Yes, this is a site that we actually use. This is something that me and my wife are using. My parents are using it. I think George Hill, one of the suspendables, is using it. In fact, he actually called me up when he had something happen. He started getting all these spam calls. Guys, every major company is currently trying to screw with you. And that includes places like TurboTax, where you're giving a lot of personal data, Google, which monitors your every move, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Apple, blah, 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 banks, insurance companies, you name it. Everybody looks at takes your data. They all plug it into something, and then they usually outsource through another company. This is something we found out by talking to Skip, who is a co-founder of Patriot Protect. It's not just the companies you're doing business with. It's who they're doing business with. And if they get hacked and they've given your data over, then you can find out what these corporate data brokers, these people search websites, and the actual scammers are going to do when they have all the stuff and they plug it into AI. And they can use it to impersonate you. They can use it to clone businesses that you actually work with. They can impersonate government. They can come out and try to steal your identity, steal your tax refunds, like you name it. The number of scams are basically limited only by imagination, and that imagination is getting broader and deeper because AI is making it more and more capable. Patriot Protect has an anti-AI tool right now available that removes you from the system. It scrapes you so that your stuff is not on Google. It removes you from 240 different data broker and people search websites, the places that these AI systems are pulling from and scammers are using. The search and destroy protocol keeps monitoring and it wipes things, new exposures automatically. If you didn't agree to be part of the scam system, maybe you want to get your name out. Patriot-protect.com/KYLE, link in the show description as usual. You'll save 15% with promo code Kyle, 15% on all of the various different plans. They've got a couple different options. I don't even remember which one I did, so I'll probably look into that for you guys and tell you more. But find something to get your name out of the hat. Just try to eliminate some of the options that you have. We're going to have Skip come on in a little bit here too, because we try to check in with him like once a quarter, kind of just see what the status of the scam is. And the scam status is always, guys, it's always happening. Just bad news, but it is. I literally have letters sitting on the floor right behind me here that I've got to go deal with, where our Blue Cross Blue Shield got hacked. And it got, our data is out there from that. And so that means all my kids and their Social Security and their medical records, which is less and less out there. Anyway, check into these things. Make sure you guys are getting it done. Let's touch on Agenda 47 briefly. We found out this was taken down the other day, and we'll do more Mark Levin in a second. And then I'll tell you the scariest thing too, which is that this concentrated effort of the Con Inc. types, they're actually using their influence to do something that I think is really nefarious and gross. All right, 20 core promises. Number 1, seal the border, stop the migrant invasion. I think we did a decent job of that in this country, so kudos to Donald Trump for doing that. Carry out the largest deportation in American history. That has not happened. It will not happen. It cannot happen. They can't even get the freaking Save America Act in with the voter ID. Number 3 is where it gets really, really bad, because for those of you who have been out to the gas station, and I drove around this weekend, we went to church, we went to donuts, it's like $4.50 for diesel. It's $3.20 to $3.50 for a gallon of 87 octane gasoline. That is not making America affordable again. That's the number 3 priority. Again, these are all domestic priorities. Every one of the things that was on the Agenda 47 is almost overwhelmingly domestic. What about number 4? Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. Guess what? We're already there. This shouldn't even affect us, and it turns out it is, and we're still seeing this. So I'm going to do some stories. I got some news stories that we're going to do in the second half here. Large tax cuts. You guys tell me how that works out. No tax on tips. Turns out that's limited. What about no tax on Social Security? Well, it's limited on there as well. You're still going to get it. Stop the outsourcing. This is all domestic agenda. Defend the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the fundamental freedoms, the ability to speak freely. This is where Tucker Carlson comes in. Can you not speak freely? How about freedom of a religion? I don't care if you're Jewish. You can be Jewish. Can I be Catholic? Because I'm seeing that there is a big push by people on the MAGA influencer side, and they are pointing out Catholics specifically. That's a Biden era tactic to go after radical traditionalist Catholics. Now they're calling it Catholic integralists or integral Catholics. I'm going to show you that too, because there's a discussion about this thing, which is a back-ended way of trying to attack Christian nationalism, which is kind of what it says. Because at the end of the day, if you had people who were doing government from a Catholic perspective or a Baptist perspective, like a real, any real Christian perspective, real, like not made up things where you're like, oh, like we need this prophecy fulfilled and we've got to go to Israel to make sure that they build a third temple or some other crazy nonsense. If you just literally took the words of the Gospels and you applied that to government, like we'd all be in fine shape, because they did that for about 200 years in this country. Really amazing. Number 8, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East. What's going on there? Failures. Failure, all over the place, all domestic agenda. Number 9, weaponization of government against the American people. A weaponized government is one that says, I have decided what the outcome is going to be, and I'm going to use all the tools within my resources and power as a government agency to come after my critics. They did it under Biden. They've done it for a long time. When it presupposes the outcome equals you're the bad guy, we're going to figure out what you've done. It means show me the man and I'll show you the crime. Show me the man and I will find the crime that makes him guilty. I said that to Dan Bongino in our first interview. That goes back to September of 2022. That is what I saw the FBI pivot towards. Stop the migrant crime epidemic. Demolish foreign drug cartels. Okay, these are all domestic priorities. Solve problems for people. Rebuild our cities. Strengthen and modernize the military. But it doesn't mean like go out there and use it everywhere. It's supposed to be a deterrent. The sword and shield, if you will. The American dollar, talking about that. Social Security and Medicaid, no cuts. I'm not really into that. I don't really care. Electric vehicle mandate, meh. Domestic. Foreign funding. Federal funding for schools that are pushing critical race theory, things that are antithetical to what our Constitution actually says, because it prioritizes certain races and genders. It gives special cutouts. These are all domestic agendas. The only thing Donald Trump is succeeding in right now is uniting the country. He's not bringing record levels of success. He's uniting the country because people on the left and the right that didn't want a new war are like, F this guy. If Lindsey Graham and Mark Levin are what MAGA is, I think a lot of people are going to just fall off. Again, I'm happy I was never in that camp. I've fought against it anytime someone tried to describe me that way. And many of you are going to be like, yeah, I also don't want to be in that. This is what he said. This is going back to his True Social tweet. They are not MAGA. I am. And MAGA includes not allowing Iran, a sick, demented, and violent terrorist regime, to have nuclear weapons to blow up the United States of America and the Middle East and ultimately the rest of the world. That's coming from a pipe dream fantasy. But for all the claims in that Axios that we have Donald Trump listening to, or Stephen Miller listening to Tucker Carlson, apparently now they're listening to Mark Levin. Here's some great knob slobbing by Mark Levin, where Trump is compared to founding fathers and then also illogically FDR, who was a Democrat that basically brought on the modern state, who's under his tutelage and under his 4 terms and then 5th term as it followed on, we got a Congress with the Administrative Procedures Act that handed over its authority to the executive. We got the centralization of power in the executive, the Article 2 powers, which is the problem with America. It's the biggest single problem. Congress failing to do its job, refusing to do its job, and then handing its authorities over to the executive has made this country a problem. And you add on to that the fact that we had a centralized government that started being able to tax you in 1913, that we broke and made things more democratic, which allowed for more authoritarian from the top. Screwed. Absolutely screwed. Anyway, here he is talking about this nonsense. Just deal with the voice.
Commander-in-Chief Donald Trump, who's facing the same kind of ugly internal forces as Roosevelt did, who's facing the same kind of enemy that Jefferson did and Madison did.
What?
Just remember this. This is a righteous war that seeks peace. Peace. Again, changing slightly the quote from Madison in 18...
This is a righteous war that seeks peace. Guys, if you hear that and that makes sense to you, please put it in the comments so I can understand what's going on here.
1915. Peace is better than war, he said. But war is better than nuclear annihilation. He said war is better than enslavement.
Right. Nuclear annihilation is not an option for Iran because Iran didn't have the ballistic missile capabilities to deliver it, nor apparently did they have a nuclear weapon. And they've been talking about it. They being, the Prime Minister of Israel has been talking about it since 1995. The clips are not hard to find. I can play one if you guys want. I'll put it over on Locals if you guys want to refer to it. For 30 plus years, we've been hearing that there was a nuclear weapon coming from Iran, despite the fact that they didn't have it. Like Iran just basically teased out that they wanted it. Meanwhile, is anyone crying about Pakistan or India having it? Or how about Israel having one? Is that a problem? And they haven't signed on. Some of these guys haven't signed on to the nuclear non-proliferation, and we still give them money.
War is better than nuclear annihilation. I ask you, what do you think Jefferson and Madison would do in these circumstances today? What do you think Franklin Roosevelt would do in these circumstances today? Or Abraham Lincoln or George Washington or even Ronald Reagan when they didn't have...
They're people that you respect. And what would they do? They would do what Donald Trump. What would Donald Trump do? Donald Trump would do what all the great people have done. And all the great people have done what Donald Trump would do because Donald Trump is the great. He's Reagan plus. You are freaking Lindsey Graham, you throbbing war boner, crying, aging, pot-bellied, balding lesbian. Boop. Just saying. I listen to these people and I think, why is this man emotional and saying things? Does he just spit this and nobody looks him up and goes like, oh, what did Madison actually think? What did Jefferson actually think? Why are you comparing Donald Trump to FDR? That was Joe Biden's thing. Joe Biden aspired to be FDR. He told us that when he was running from his basement. Donald Trump is FDR. I don't think that's the Roosevelt that he wanted to be like. It's so strange. Oh, it's so weird to watch this stuff. All right. So here you go. This is the current status of things. This is coming from NBC. This is coming from NBC in July of 2025. This is when the break started happening. This is when Tucker Carlson started saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't do some things for some reasons. Does it mean I agree with everything Tucker Carlson says? No, but I don't even agree with everything my wife says, and I don't even agree with everything I have said in my life. And neither do you. So you're allowed to have different opinions. The question is should your government be able to spy on you and then be able to make a criminal referral up to our federal law enforcement agencies, which we know are corrupt and haven't been fixed? Can they do that? And is that okay because the guy didn't co-sign on every single thing that your dude said? Your dude being Donald Trump in this case, the MAGA, aka the MAGA. Tucker Carlson leads MAGA's worried warriors in questioning Donald Trump. This is the beginning of the problem. NBC News coverage. Former Fox News host and America First leader spoke with NBC News as MAGA influencers rebelled over amnesty, Iran, and the Epstein files. There you have it. It's Epstein, it's Iran. What kind of amnesty are we talking about? Oh, the other big one, the migrant invasion part. As President Donald Trump, this is about a year ago. This is like 9 months ago. As Donald Trump weighed U.S. involvement in the conflict between Israel and Iran last month, guys, July of 2025, some influential members of online MAGA army began questioning what he was doing. There are few prominent enough to face a direct response from the president. Here's what he said. Can someone please explain to kooky Tucker Carlson that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, he wrote. Same as Mark Levin was just saying. Same as Bibi Netanyahu has been saying for 30 years. Yeah, we get it. The question is there a real possibility? I thought we obliterated their program. Wait a minute. Did we obliterate their program? I thought we did. I thought that was what was supposed to be said. Oh, there it is. Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated. This is from, that's from the White House. June 25 of 2025. So wait a minute. Why in July of 2025, a month later, is he out there screaming about this? It's like you already did it. You already did the thing you said you were going to do. So why are we still talking about it? Donald Trump claiming that Tucker Carlson is kooky for saying, hey, let's not do any more involvement in there. You want to do a bombing run? Great. High five. You win. Then what? I told you last couple of weeks, I have this belief that MAGA, the MAGA movement, the Donald Trump administration, they actually don't want to be in power. They actually like being an opposition group. He likes to campaign, but he doesn't like to lead. They like to aspire to power, but they don't actually like to govern when they have it. Let me give you a great example of this. And this goes to the same complaining that you're hearing Mark Levin doing. And the complaining that I hear all the, it's anti-Semitism, it's anti-Americanism. All of those people are doing the same thing. How about you just do a good job and then everyone recognizes you by your fruits? Say what you like. When young kids come and knock on your door and they're riding a bicycle and they're wearing a black tie and a white shirt and they're wearing slacks and they got bicycle helmets on and they got the Book of Mormon in their hand, you know exactly who they are. Are those rude kids? Are they mean? Are they mean-spirited?
And I talk like this to you and tell you that you're anti-American if you don't open the door for a Mormon?
No, they don't. They just go like, hey, would you like to talk about the Book of Mormon? And you're like, nope, I don't. Would you like a glass of lemonade? And they're like, that'd be lovely. Can we try to preach to you? And you go, nope. Can I try to preach to you? And they go, well, we're on a mission. Okay, we're fine. All good. You're still a person. They're respectful. They're learning how to do something that is very, very hard to do. Knock on doors and ask for something. I bet they make great, great salespeople because they've had all the worst things happen in their face and they take it with grace. And I don't have any particular love for like Mormon missionaries other than I see them and I respect what they're doing. They're young and they're being indoctrinated in their faith as they're supposed to be. And they're doing it in a way that invites universal kind of cringe when the door knocks. You're like, oh no, Mormon missionaries coming to the door. And they do it with grace every single time. When you're winning, if you're out there doing something like where you actually had to, imagine if Mormons were in charge. There are places where they do it. What do? They just quietly go and do the thing that they were going to do. And it may be awful. It may be really corrupt. Maybe you get really mad about it. I know there are people in towns that are run by Mormons and you're like, this is not good. But they don't go out there and bitch about people that were mean to them. They just go out and quietly enact the agenda. That's the idea. How come MAGA didn't just show up and be like, now that we've got power, we've got the House, we've got the Senate, we've got the White House, we are going to go dominate and do all the things. You're not even going to hear from us. We don't even care what the news thinks. It's completely irrelevant because we're going to go solve problems. We came in on an agenda. You have 20 promises. We're going to execute it. We're not going to be doing press conferences. We're not going to go out there and answer if somebody from ICE has to shoot someone because some idiot tries to run over an ICE officer. We're not even going to care. Sorry, we came here to win. We're going to come out here. We already won. We got the election. Now we're going to show you what it does when we win. Or you could do what Pete Hegseth is doing here. And generally speaking, I think Pete Hegseth was saying the right things about what needed to happen in the military because the military got weak from the leadership end, not the men who show up. If you're out there bitching about the press corps not giving you favorable coverage the way Donald Trump does, it just tells me you don't know what to do with it. It's the dog that catches the car, and then it's like, now what? Now I guess you just bark at the static car instead of barking at the car that's running away. Unbelievable. Here's Pete Hegseth crying about news media, and I think this is the most MAGA thing you can do. Get power, be the top guy, be able to do change and make differences like that you wanted to do, and then spend all your time crying about people that don't say you're doing a great job, as though that mattered. Results speak for themselves, people. If you're explaining, you're losing.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump, because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it. Spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand how about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35? Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery? Or how hard it is to refuel midair? Giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible. And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission, set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we...
Guys, remind me, because I feel like I watch the news for a living now. Didn't we fire the entire Pentagon press corps? Didn't they revoke all of the credentials from the press corps? Wasn't there like a big hubbub about how NBC and CNN, if they didn't follow whatever the requirements were of the press corps that needed to be in the Pentagon, didn't they have like some really stringent requirements? So that is Pete Hegseth's press corps that he's bitching at. They chose these people and they're crying about it. Am I crazy? Did he not choose those people? What are we crying about? Like, if you're dominating, to go dominate. You don't need to worry about it. It's like, here's the update. Here's this thing. We're not taking any additional questions. Please submit them in writing. We'll try to answer them tomorrow. We're busy kicking ass. We're doing awesome. If you don't like it, report whatever you want. Why are you so interested in what they say? And it's because we have very thin-skinned people running this country that are more interested in they're happy to be derailed from their own agenda so that they can go back in and fight in the way that they know how. Donald Trump is really good at mean tweets, right? Isn't that what people said? Lower gas prices and mean tweets. I guess 1 out of 2 ain't bad. We got the mean tweets. We got the Mark Levin backing. Is that it? Is that what we're doing? Like, we're really good at shit talk, but we're not good at actually, like, you can't run your mouth. I saw something the other day. There was a pizza store owner. It was a great little clip. This guy comes in. It's a black guy. He's yelling at the Mexican guys that are working on the pizza parlor. And there's like an Italian guy that owns a pizza parlor. It's actually like a classic New York story. And this guy's clearly a New York pizza shop owner. Rolls in. Black dude's wearing like one of those big puffy coats, and he's like yelling at the Mexican guys behind the thing, saying that they're lazy and they don't do work and all this other stuff. And the shop owner, Italian guy, comes in and he's like, "Get out! You can't buy here. I'm not serving you. You badmouth my people. We're done." And then he just starts working. He's like working on the register. He's doing his thing. He's ignoring. And the guy's like, "Nya, nya, nya, nya." And he's like, Get out of the door. I don't care what you say. It's irrelevant. No one's going to serve you here. You cannot buy from my shop. You badmouth my dudes. You're done. Leave. You're not my customer." And he's like working. And the guy keeps running his mouth. And he goes, "Hey, a barking dog never bites. You're done." And the guy looked like he got slapped in the face when he heard that. He was like, "Barking dog." And then he like wants to argue, but he knows he's a barking dog and he never bites. That's what the Trump administration does. It's all bark and minimal bite. It just seems like it's just all they want to do is they want to be the opposition party so bad. They want to be the underdog that when they win, they can't take victory and then go enact the agenda. And I think that's why they pulled down Agenda 47. It was a domestic agenda. It wasn't some like running around, starting a war somewhere that didn't need to be started. It wasn't going out there and doing the bidding of another country. I don't know why Donald Trump thinks that is, whether it's because his biggest donor is an Israeli Jewish lady, whether he's got the people that are in the military industrial complex in his ear chirping about how much money there is or what we need to do, whether he actually believes that there's like a big nuclear threat, even though it's pretty clear that if you look at the history of it. How about those sleeper cells, people? We've been hearing about them since 9/11. At any moment, there could be an attack on the United States homeland from inside the United States. Do you know what it's used to do? Is it used to point out all the terror networks overseas and obliterate them? It was. And then we ran out of them. I told you that one of the premises of this podcast has been looking at the intelligence apparatus since 9/11. It was illuminated by George Hill, who's my friend, and talked to me at the first podcast we ever did, which goes back to sitting in a trailer in Arizona on an extension cord. And the thing he told me, which has revolutionized the way that I look at our American government, especially the way it communicates with us, is as follows. After 9/11, the American federal government accepted a new mission and a new definition of national security. And that is no American dies at the hands of terrorism. That is a fundamentally tyrannical mandate. What it means is that we will now spy on you. We will now call out anybody that's a problem. We will fake things in order to justify what we do, because anything we do can be justified under the possibility that there is going to be major terrorist attacks at any moment, and we have to stop them. And if something gets through, it's only because you didn't give us enough money, enough authority, you didn't cede enough of your freedoms. That's the answer. So left, right, all authoritarian. It just depends on who's in charge. And we get to pick the bad guys that we're going to go after. We pick out our scapegoats instead of their scapegoats. But all of it is set up for what? One reason. One simple, very obvious reason. We are going to stop you from living a free life. If there were going to be terrorist sleeper cells, it would have already happened. And the progression and the etymology is really, really easy to watch the progression. It starts off with, there's bad people overseas that are doing bad things. We need to stop them. We're going to keep an eye on them. And then it goes, there are bad people from overseas in our country, and we're going to watch them. And then they go, well, we're already watching people in this country, so let's find some other people we don't like. So let's find some white supremacists. Let's find some militia violent extremists. Let's find some anti-government, anti-authority violent extremists. Let's find whoever it is that disagrees with our government, because everybody that doesn't agree with me is a terrorist. The sleeper cell looks like the Seraphin household, where we have more guns than we have neighbors. That's a sleeper cell, apparently. If you guys don't believe me, you see this thing from Tucker Carlson, I'll tell you exactly how they did the machine. I'm going to explain to you Tucker Carlson's "the CIA is spying on me" thing and how that would get done. I will explain it to you in 1 second here. 100%. It's not that hard. You guys might hear an ad from Spotify right now. If you're watching on Rumble, please give us a like. If you're watching on YouTube, same story. If you haven't subscribed to both those places, because maybe YouTube takes us down or maybe Rumble, makes our video go away. This has happened as well, where like pieces of the Rumble video will be missing. Check us out. And then lastly, do me the favor, sign up at Spotify. It's KyleSeraphinShow.com. It's a great backup. It has chapters that are written by AI. It has, all kinds of little like quick breaks in there. You guys can go in fast, you can slow. It's got video, it's got audio. You can do either or both with the app closed. You can drive, turn it on and off, flip away from video and just do straight audio. Anyway, check them out. Spotify is the way to go. It really is our best platform. When it comes to, if they did live, I probably would just drop the other ones, to be fair. I just think it's the best. Okay. Here's the deal. Here's Tucker Carlson telling you that he's being spied on. And I would not say that this is a possibility. I would suggest to you that this is the not just probability, but almost definitively the case. And I'm going to tell you how they do it, which we've done before. And I've been sharing this as a congressional whistleblower. I brought this to members of Congress. Not one of them have done shit about this problem. And this is a really, really big problem, guys. It's maybe one of the biggest problems as we move towards the April 20th renewal of FISA, which is coming. You think that they're not talking about all the sleeper cells and trying to make sure that there's going to be a wave of terrorism arrests and terrorism things going on and the media highlighting terrorism as a problem because on 4/20 of 2026, they need to renew FISA. So they need to justify the surveillance on everybody. Tucker Carlson is the tip of the iceberg here. In fact, it's a lot worse than that. So here we go.
So the other day I found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me, a crime report, to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war. They read my texts. So the crime under consideration apparently would be the Foreign Agent Act or something like that, acting as an agent of a foreign power. And I don't expect this to go anywhere. I'm not too worried about an actual criminal case against me for a bunch of reasons. One, I'm not an agent of a foreign power. Unlike a lot of people commenting on U.S. politics and global affairs, I have only one loyalty, and that's the United States, and have never acted against it. Its interests are the only interests I care about because I'm from here and I have a lot of kids. So that's not a concern. I've also never taken money from anybody. Don't need it, don't want it, and that's provable. And moreover, it's my job to talk to everybody all the time and try and figure out what's happening around the world. That's literally what I do for a living. And I'm not going to stop doing that, nor should I don't think. I'm also an American. I can talk to anybody. I have no secrets to divulge. So legally, I think the case is ludicrous, and I doubt it will even become a case. I'm bringing this up for a couple of reasons, though, and they're pretty obvious. One is that countries tend to become more authoritarian in wartime. It's just the nature of war. People are dying. The stakes are high. People's emotions have risen to a very high point, to a crescendo. And so there's much less tolerance for any kind of dissent in the homeland. The irony, of course, is the United States fights wars on behalf of freedom, but there's always less of it here in our country during war. So that's a widely recognized phenomenon, and it's likely to happen now, too.
This goes on. You guys want to watch Tucker's podcast, you guys can check it out. The hit pieces and the smears on Tucker, which are coming from Donald Trump, they're coming from Barry Weiss and the people over at the Free Press. This is a piece that entitled "Tucker Carlson Fails His Own Loyalty Test." The podcasters claim he's being framed as a foreign agent as alarming, but he loves nothing more than questioning fellow Americans' loyalty to their country, by Eli Lake, who's a veteran journalist of foreign affairs and national security and the host of Breaking History. Tucker's claim that the CIA is reading his text messages. It's probably actually a little bit off. I doubt it's just the CIA. The way this works is that it would be the NSA, because the NSA does the SIGINT piece. Signals intelligence is gathered by the NSA. This is something that George has brought to George Hill, who's our former NSA, former FBI national security supervisor. And he had different experiences, but also longer experiences with the Bureau. I did it in Washington. He did it in Boston. We both understand that there's a thing called the data warehouse system or data warehouse service. It's DWS. It's a software that I used to use in my job when I was working counterintelligence. So here's how the mechanics of what he's saying works. Super simple. In October 2016, the Obama White House issued an update to Executive Order 12333. That's the justification for national security collections. It is the defining way that we deal with signals intelligence. It defines what the NSA does. And what they did is they authorized the FBI to have raw access, unfiltered, unanalyzed, completely unmitigated. It's a look into your email. If you guys don't understand what this looks like, it looks like Kyle Seraphin gets in, logs in as FBI agent, pulls up my FISA 702, and I now have access to exactly what you see in your Gmail or your Yahoo Mail or your Hotmail or your Outlook account online. Okay? I have access to all of that if you are a target of 702 FISA. I see your spam. I see your drafts. I see all of it. I can read them. I can download them. I can send them off to a translator because it's in some other language. And then we can nominate people that you're involved in, like communications with, to others. Now, in theory, FISA 702 is meant for foreign spies in foreign lands and potentially also terrorists, which means that when you, as a foreign person, come into the United States, I'm supposed to turn it off. I'm supposed to turn off the collection while you're actively in the U.S. And then when you leave, then I can turn it back on again. And then obviously I'm going to get all the historical collection again. But there's a problem with all that, which is that they almost always use this thing for what's called reverse targeting. And it was done hundreds of thousands of times after they fixed the problem. It was done millions of times before they fixed the problem when I was working there. Millions of times the FBI queried American citizens' names and found out, here's Kyle's email address. Oh, it's info@kyleseraphin.com. Info@kyleseraphin.com. Let's just type this in. Oh, he's also communicating with this, or he got emails from this. And here's where it gets really crazy. It gets crazy because the FBI can open up a full national security case. By the way, no criminal allegation made, not a criminal predicate. Criminal means there's like an allegation or information that a federal crime took place. No, they can open up a full case on any one of you, because you're now in communication with somebody from overseas, or even worse. And this is where I think Tucker's 100% being targeted by this, just the way that I know I am. And by the way, they also had national security subpoenas that went after me, and they went after my social media after I left the FBI, when I no longer was involved in any sort of read-in. After I'd been read out of my security clearance. And by the way, I was given a letter saying I was relieved of all duties and responsibilities as an FBI employee. I'm still not going to give up national security secrets. There's things I know that I'll take to my grave. I'm sure they won't be relevant soon enough. I hope they won't be. I hope that they've moved on and gotten better technologies, but I'm not going to reveal some of the stuff that I learned. And yet they wrote it in paper. What is Tucker Carlson's read in? Like what security clearance does he have? What NDA did he sign? Maybe he did. But maybe he didn't, because I don't know that he's read into a security clearance. The crazy part is this. When the Iranian national state television reached out to me in 2022, and they did, and I blocked them, by the way, it was Press TV. They reached out and sent me a DM on Twitter. That DM from a foreign nation state in media, which is, inextricably linked to their intelligence services and whatever their intelligence collecting capabilities are. If Russia Today, RT, reached out to me and sent me an email, that would be enough for the FBI to justify opening a full counterintelligence investigation into me. Not because they allege I've done anything wrong, by the way. It's to protect me. In the same way that they're willing to protect you from terrorists, they're willing to protect me from being targeted by other nation states. Do you get how freaking dangerous and stupid this is? And I've brought this up to Congress members and said, there is no reason why the FBI should be able to take the entirety of their national security resources, including things like NSLs, which are subpoenas that are approved by an FBI special agent in charge. They're sent off to companies and they're evaluated based on we need this information. It's national security related. We can't tell you why we need it, and you can't tell the person why we took it. And you got to give it to us. We need all your bank records. We need all this guy's bank records. Okay. We need all the things that we asked for, national security letters, because we are trying to make sure that Kyle Seraphin is safe from being targeted by the Iranians. They could do that to members of Congress. And now we found out they can put them in files that never even show up again. They disappear. We have an unaccountable, unelected, bureaucratic system. When we talk about a deep state, I thought that's what ending weaponization would look like. So you think Tucker Carlson, you talk to anybody in Iran, they can go out there and grab all your stuff. You can now be the subject of a counterintelligence investigation because potentially they might want to target you. The end. That's it. They don't need any more justification. And if they were to find any other examples of you violating anything, even though they're not in a position to have a Fourth Amendment certified search of your stuff, the FBI has claimed that because they are in lawful possession of the information for national security reasons, they can also use it for criminal purposes, which is expressly against what our Constitution says. How are you safe and secure in your person and papers and things when the federal government has the ability to do a warrantless look into all of your stuff and request it and build a file? And if they happen to find something that they think is problematic, then they grab it. And as you guys are saying, because we also have all these interchanges with foreign intelligence services and we've given them a lot of our capabilities and vice versa, if they find something and make a referral over to one of our law enforcement agencies, they can do it too. And then they do a thing called parallel construction. You can construct things in parallel. I have a national security investigation. I happen to find that you might be involved in money laundering, or I might think that you're involved in fill in the blank other little things. Fraud, scam, influence peddling, unregistered foreign agent. I'm going to make that allegation, and then I go after you. I'm not in a lawful position to have that stuff, but because I did it under the national security size, I'm going to be able to play this game. That's how our government comes after people. That should scare the crap out of you. And it should be the reason why we shut this stuff down. It really, really bothers me that nobody has taken this thing seriously for the last, 4 years that I've been talking about it. It's maybe the scariest thing we said. Yeah, it's really bad that they were going after parents at school board meetings. That sucks. They shouldn't be doing that. That's clear examples of weaponization. That's show me the person. They're politically inconvenient, so we're going to go after them. But it's far, far worse that every single person in the United States can be spied on by our government, and they can do so without a warrant, and they can do so because they make the allegation that they're trying to keep us safe. So is Tucker Carlson being looked at? By the way, I went to the FISA office. Sorry, not the FISA office. I went to the FARA office in 2018. This is worth noting. I've told this story before to other people. I don't know if I've said it on this podcast, but it doesn't matter. 2018, me, one of the women who actually got fired over the Neil Team 6 incident, Amy and I went, and there was one other person with me, and I can't remember who it was, but it was another female. I think she's still in. I won't say her name. And we rolled down to the FARA office to find out, could we prosecute FARA against the people that we felt were like unregistered agents of the Chinese government? And when I talked to the section chief, I think that's what it was, that who's the top person for FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act. There's an entire section that is dedicated to enforcing FARA violations. So these are lobbyists that are paid for by fill in the blank company, and then they don't get on the books with FARA. And so you're in violation of this act, which requires that you declare, I'm taking money from this other country and I am doing work on their behalf. The Saudi government is paying me to say, visit Saudi Arabia. It's so amazing. And so I get this money and this is the marketing campaign. And you have to do all kinds of things. You have to submit what they gave you, what the talking points are. Like there's a requirement underneath this law. Okay. And we had somebody that was doing that on behalf of China, we thought. We wanted to prove it, and we wanted to know if we could prosecute it, because if it's a criminal case, that's where the FBI shines. And here's where the problem comes in. I went to the FARA guy, and I said, what do you think? And he goes, well, here's what happens if you violate the Foreign Agent Registration Act. We send you a sternly worded letter. And I go, okay. And then what? And he's like, well, we encourage you to comply and register with the FARA office. And I said, what happens if they ignore it? And he goes, in 90 days, if you ignore our sternly worded letter, we will send you yet another sternly worded letter. Did you go, okay. What if they ignore that? And he goes, that does happen. Occasionally, people will ignore our second letter. And so after that, 90 days after the second letter, we will send you yet a third sternly worded letter and hope you comply. FARA, which is what Tucker Carlson was talking about, in general, is not a standalone statute for prosecution. At least historically it has not been. Unless you're Mike Flynn, unless you're politically inconvenient, unless you maybe are Tucker Carlson, unless you're maybe Kyle Seraphin, I don't know. These letters are the historical outcome of people not registering for FARA. And there's tons of people from different sides of the aisle that get involved in this problem. They represent foreign nations, including people that are currently in our cabinet. Some have been declared, some have not. Kash Patel. There have been allegations that Kash Patel was involved in a FARA violation because he was taking money from Qatar. Forget Tucker Carlson. What about the current FBI director? Right? We know on the books some of the people that were working for Ballard, the Susie Wiles, who was a managing partner in Jacksonville for Ballard in Florida, who employed Pam Bondi. Like, they were taking money from these people. I assume that they were properly registered. But what about Kash? How come he wasn't? How about the people that are advocating on behalf of Israel? It only matters if Israel gives them money and tells them things. If they explicitly ask them to say, hey, these are the things we want you to go and push, then you're in trouble with FARA. And guess what? Nothing happens unless they want to get you. And the standalone add-on charge should not be false statements, 18 U.S.C. 1001, which is what they try to charge everybody with. Oh, lying to the FBI. You lied to us and you did a FARA violation. Double whammy. Both non-standalone charges when it comes to prosecution, historically for the DOJ. So that seems pretty problematic. At least I think it is. Let's run through some of the headlines of the day. By the way, here, let me show you a couple of the things here, and this will be stuff that gets covered over on X, I'm sure. This is Mark Levin this morning. This is how I woke up and I read this, which is just gnarly. This is from yesterday.
Never forget, the entire cabal of the woke Reich neo-fascist isolationists are smearing our POTUS and our military in the middle of a righteous and noble military campaign. They are the fifth column giving aid and comfort. By the way, aid and comfort are the words of the treason statute. To a horrific and genocidal enemy. They've always been fake MAGA. And they have joined the Marxist Islamist left in the unconscionable efforts to campaign. In the end, it is us, we the people, who they despise.
No, we just fucking hate Mark Levin. Excuse my language here, but it's like, that's exactly what Mark Levin sounds like. For those of you who have not, if you never heard Mark Levin,
that's what he sounds like. He sounds like that.
Or he sounds like this when he's knob slobbing.
And he loves Israel too.
It's true. 2 seconds. Just 2 seconds. 6 years ago, I was up here, and I said, "This is our first Jewish president." It's true. Now he's the first Jewish president to serve two not consecutive presidencies. We thank you for everything.
That's right. Bad things happened on the second one. Namely, the election was rigged. And we found out, and you see that happening. But
and you are the greatest.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able.
You should have a photo ID to vote. The election was rigged. That's what Donald Trump just said. And we all know it. And then what? Then nothing. Then nothing. Nothing. You got nothing. That's the thing you want to talk about? That's why you have non-consecutive presidencies? What a joke. Seriously, what's going on in the world right now? Here we go. Airline CEOs demand Congress restore DHS funding and pay airport workers. They seek to pay federal aviation workers, including airport security officers. CEOs of the nation's top airlines, including American, Delta, Southwest, and JetBlue, are imploring Congress to restore the funding to the Homeland Security. We're still in the middle of a government shutdown, by the way. We're in the middle of a government shutdown where we have Iranian sleeper cells that at any moment might come after us, and we don't have Homeland Security, and they haven't come after us because they don't exist. That's my conclusion. That's my analysis at this point. I don't know what else to think. How do you believe that when the cabinet department that was stood up after 9/11, that was set to defend the homeland and stop all these things, like, is it happening? I don't know. Flying in America is about to get more expensive and less fun. Really? Because right now, that's so sad. It used to be so much fun and so cheap to fly everywhere. Now it's got to get more expensive. I was looking at what it would take if my family wanted to drive out to Arizona to go see with my folks. Like, I was going to have my wife drive out there, and then I was going to fly out and meet them. And it was like $400 to take a freaking Southwest Air flight from Austin, which is a Southwest hub, to Phoenix, which is not even close to their house, which is a Southwest hub. It's like $400 to jump on a plane to just fly a couple of times, like 2 time zones over. It's not even that far. It's every day. They do like 5 flights a day. $400. Yuck. Why? oh, I don't know. The Iran war is driving up fuel prices because we're not interested in saving things in the domestic level. We're apparently going to make America not less affordable again. We've just given up on that. The DHS shutdown creates long lines into security. There's no end in sight for them. So what should we do? Oh, we should fund it and pay for all these things. Major airlines, millions of travelers are facing rare convergence of challenges. Is it? It feels less rare. This spring, they're all coming together to make it costlier and less convenient than it was previously. It's almost like they want you to not fly and not be able to move around and not go about the country. Remember Southwest? That was their thing. You're now free to move about the country. Homeland Security, partial shutdown, created staffing shortages, domestic airport security checkpoints. Meanwhile, the Iran war has driven up jet fuel costs and forced many global carriers to reroute or suspend flights over the Middle East. As though that should affect anything in the United States. It shouldn't, but it does. In America, the busiest spring break of the year just kicked off. On Sunday, there are tens of thousands of Transportation Safety Administration workers who conduct airport screenings. They missed their first full paycheck. Remember, these things always happen a couple weeks in arrear. So now they first missed their first paycheck. There's no end in sight with the funding lapse. And we're fighting over, I don't know, voter ID. We're fighting over all kinds of dumb things here. 300 TSA workers have quit. That's almost none. Travelers are experiencing hours-long security lines at nationwide airports. Freaking nothing. You know what would be a great target, just for whatever it's worth? Oh, there's a million great targets, so you don't have to like worry about that. But the number of great targets, airports. You don't need to get like, how dumb are we? You're like, oh, they could take down an airliner. And you're like, oh, you know what we could do? We could create huge screening lines where there would be literally hundreds and hundreds of people standing around looking at their phones. And somebody can go into the uncleared area and then attack that. If you wanted to make air travel like a big deal, if you wanted to see a sleeper cell enact something of like capable violence, there are literally thousands of people standing around all over the country at any given time waiting to go through a security checkpoint to make sure that they're not in danger. One dude with an AK would be devastating there. It just doesn't happen that frequently. Do you guys think airport security is super capable? Because I don't. I've seen them. Doesn't mean that some of them aren't. It just means mostly they're not. How do I know? Oh, I used to test airport security when I was in the FBI. I would literally go in the back of Dulles Airport, which is like run by people wearing, you know, what do you call them? Like burqas and stuff. There's like unbelievable amounts of Muslim people running those security. That's like Fox guarding the head house weirdness. I'd go in behind the security apparatus and I'd sit there at the screening where people would go through the magnetometers and they'd go through the body scans. I'd sit there for like an hour and a half. I was there because I was like looking for somebody, you know, whoever was one of our CI targets or somebody we were doing surveillance on. But I would sit there and watch, wait to see if that person traveled. Those lines are endless. The security is completely oblivious. All in the uncleared area. And there'd be, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of people sometimes. Dulles gets huge and really, really backed up. 20 lines running at once. It's just a mess. And there's just, as far as you can see, people standing there. So we create new targets for them. And guess what? They still don't attack us because they're not there, I don't think. At least Donald Trump is talking about really serious stuff. Here's a 29-year-old podcasting boxing guy. Sorry, not a podcast. I guess he's doing a podcast, but he's a boxer and he's 29 and he's talking to Donald Trump about what he thinks is really important. We're going to move into where where it touches the youth, because it turns out the reason you're going to find people jumping off the MAGA train over war is that maybe they have children or grandchildren and they're not all going to buy into the BS of the Treasury Secretary or Glenn Beck or Lindsey Graham, who has no children, or Mark Levin. Like, they're just not going to buy it. I think that's where we're going right now.
I was a bit shocked too. Like, everyone else in the world was like, this is the greatest thing. And I think what you're doing is phenomenal. And I was shocked that so many activists like in America didn't like it. But meanwhile, they're like, oh, well, we support women. We want women to have all these rights. Meanwhile, you're liberating the women of Iran, and then they have an issue with it. I thought that was very confusing.
We support gays, but they throw gays off the buildings,
Yeah.
okay? We support this. I mean, the things they do, and they're fighting. But I think I have tremendous support on this. This is something that's been incredible. I have the best poll numbers I've ever had now.
Yeah.
Jake Paul, boxer, YouTube guy, talking to Donald Trump. You're out there liberating the women of Iran, and Donald Trump's first thought is, well, they were the gays, and they throw gays off buildings, and so we're here to support the gays. It's like, dude, there's no political right wing in America. What are you talking about? Meanwhile, live update from CBS News. The Iran war keeps oil prices over $100 a barrel, with the Strait of Hormuz paralyzed despite Donald Trump's demands. I thought we were going to be energy independent. Wasn't that part of the deal? You guys remember that too? Wasn't that something they said? Oh, the United States does not fundamentally need Middle Eastern oil to meet its total energy demand, as it's been a net exporter of petroleum. We still import millions of barrels from the region. But since 2020, we've produced more oil than we consume because of fracking, because of the energy revolution that took place in America. This is one of the things I found really interesting. Logical, you guys can't see it here. I'll scroll up. Logical flexibility issues. One of the reasons we import Middle Eastern oil is because of the Jones Act. It could be cheaper for coastal refineries to import oil than rather to transport it from producers like Texas. It's easier for us to import it. The Jones Act, which is one of those things that exists because why? Oh, because unions, because of leftist policies, because they were like, let's make it so that non-U.S. flag vessels can't hit more than one U.S. port. It can only hit one U.S. port. So therefore, we do things that are so illogical and stupid. Theoretically, we're already energy independent. Only 20% of the oil in the world goes through the Strait of Hormuz, and theoretically, we don't need it. Oops. Where's that domestic agenda at? Seems problematic. Let's see what else is going on here, because I got a couple other stories here. That's the war as we know it. Hormuz. Second story talking about U.S. finding oil past $100 a barrel. This is not the domestic game that we wanted. And here's the last one. This is from Fox News. 5 truths that the media likes to ignore about America's oil boom, which is blunting the impact of the Iran war. Guys, leave it to Fox News to tell you that even though oil is over $100 a barrel, it's actually good because America is so strong that it would be way worse. I kid you not. That is the article here from Steve Moore. It's an opinion piece. I will put that in the comment link below so you guys can find that as a reference. But I read this through and it's all talking about how the Middle East has all these problems. That's why we need to be energy independent. Luckily we are. So even though we've made the cost of gas go up like 50% for diesel, it's because they're so good at what they're doing. They're doing such a good job that we don't have to even worry about that. That's hard to read. It's as hard to read as this screed, which includes all caps boomer stuff from Donald Trump. So let's see. That's not the scariest thing. The scariest thing happened over the weekend, and I think it's been missed. I don't see anybody talking about it in the on the social platforms, and I haven't seen any podcasts cover it yet too. 2 people said exactly the same thing from very different places. Speaking of throwing gays off roofs. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary who worked for George Soros for 20 years and is married to a man, I'll use married in air quotes, got dragged out of a live interview to the Situation Room, then came back in and sounded like someone showed him a picture of his I don't know, anybody he loved with a gun to their head. Scott Bessent is the Treasury Secretary saying that he would let Donald Trump take his son to war. I'm going to give you this real quick. I'm going to put it on the screen. Here we go. Oops, that's empty. There we go.
I listened to you on the president wants you. Sorry, the president wants you.
Okay, this is Bessent getting dragged out.
Okay.
The president wants you in the Situation.
Okay. No problem at all.
So they unmic him.
See you shortly, Mr. Secretary.
It's at 10:22 a.m.
Mr. Secretary, I have to say, it's a first, I'm sure, a loss as well, that an interviewee's been pulled away to go to the Situation Room. How was the president? Was he stressed?
Where have you found the most?
I listened to you on
I just did it to myself. 1 second here. We'll fix it.
Mr. Secretary, I have to say, it's a first, I'm sure, a loss as well, that an interviewee's been pulled away to go to the Situation Room. How was the president? Was he stressed?
No, the president is in great spirits. The Iranian mission is proceeding well ahead of schedule. And I have to tell you, Wolf, that I have a teenager who's considering military service, and I could give this team my highest compliment from President Trump to the head of the Joint Chiefs to the Secretary of War. I would say that I would trust my child's life in their hands.
What? does he sound like he's really confident? He looks like he's about ready to cry. So that's really weird. Okay. That in and of itself, you get pulled away, you come back and you say that I'm so confident that I would give them my highest compliment. I would trust my child's life in their hands. Okay. As a standalone, I think nothing of it. I just go, that's weird. That's a weird guy. How about when Glenn Beck says the same thing? What do you think about that? Glenn Beck brought up almost exactly the same point, talking about his child, and now he's using it to say that now's the best time for you to sign up for the military. We've been told that the military's had record levels of recruiting. Why are we doing this now? Why are these guys out there simping for it? Why are they telling parents you've got to get behind your children going to war? And does anyone believe that Glenn Beck, who is just on the edge, I think he's like not a boomer by a year or something like that. Like Glenn Beck looks like the least pugilistic person that I've ever seen. Soft, doughy, life of comfort, been in media his whole time. He's telling his kid to go to war? Seriously? This is a great way for you to figure out what to do with your life by going to the military. Yeah, I agree with that, by the way. It's a great way to figure out what you're doing with your life if you want to go out there and do violence. This is a really strange sort of like double up. Watching these two people, Beck in media, Besson in the cabinet.
Okay, so I can talk a big game, and I think this is what Robin was saying in a nice way. She was saying, Glenn, okay, so her exact quote was, when is Barron and Glenn's son going to join the military? Well, I can't speak for President Trump, and I can't speak for Barron. I can speak for my son. My son and I had that conversation this week. If you don't know what you want to do, if you might want to consider, now is the time to join the military. Why would you say that to your son? We're at war. Because I believe we have a president who's not going to put our soldiers through an endless meat grinder without any thought. He is not going to send a single soldier out without the ability to shoot back and kill them. Okay? If you're going to go into war, you want to go in with a warrior. You want to go in with somebody who is saying, I value your life over the enemy's life, and I'm going to take care of you and do everything I can to equip you to survive while you're in that environment. War, he could be out in 2 years. Yes, he might be. And if we switch directions in 2 years, we are so screwed. We're so screwed. But here's what people don't understand from the left.
That might be the most cringeworthy thing that I've seen in a long time. No, you don't want to go to war with a warrior and can claim that Donald Trump is a warrior. What is war like about Donald Trump? No military service, no pugilism. Guy doesn't even like doing manual labor, doesn't like doing anything physical, says he doesn't like going to the gym. You don't want to send somebody in when because you have a warrior who's going to let you shoot back. You want to go in when someone says there is a judicious use of force and we're only going to go in for just purposes, and that there's a meaning to what you're doing, and it actually serves the nation as opposed to somebody else's interests. Like young people, and I know that because I was one of them, sign up for the military for all kinds of reasons. And usually that reason is like, I have a lot of violence that I'm willing to do, and I should go do it somewhere where I'm not going to get arrested. That's why you do that. How many of you guys signed up for the military because you were young, you're angry, you're capable, you're like, I'm going to go bring my violence to somebody else where I'm not going to go to prison for it? That's a normal thing. To say you want to go in because the rules of engagement are going to be slightly better because of this quote unquote warrior who's never done anything like warrior, like all these guys, Barack Obama, same thing. I see it so simply. You're talking about people that don't have the balls to go put their own life on the line. Don't ever have the balls to stand up and say, yeah, I'm willing to go do that. And I don't know what's going to happen next. Maybe I'll lose a limb. Maybe I'll lose my life. But I think that there's value in doing this type of service. And they pay you crap. And then what? Donald Trump is a warrior? Just spare me this cringy crap. Spare me weird people saying that I'm going to send my child to war when I don't believe you. Glenn Beck's net worth is what, like $50 or $100 million, maybe more? No. Sorry, not buying that. Everything about that was disingenuous. Same thing with Scott Besson, by the way, who's also worth like a ton of money. These people are not sending their kids there. Not a chance. None of these people have even the instinct that the Kennedys had. Do you remember the Kennedys used to do that? Like, didn't JFK go in to the military? Like, didn't he actually go into like actual military? Didn't he actually go into like a PT boat that fell down, like fell apart? Like one of the worst, stupidest things you could do there because he actually wanted to go do something. There used to be a time when people would actually send their children because they thought it was honorable. I don't think they're doing that stuff anymore. In any case. All right, that's what we're going to end up with. Should we do a like a cringy sort of gatekeeping? Let's end with this. This is the totality of the MAGA movement at this point. We are going to do gatekeeping and tell you guys what's MAGA and what's not MAGA. And so let's let Bongino close us out with a final thought with another guy named Graham Allen, because all the podcasters that we don't agree with are the problem. They were never real MAGA. How about for those of us that never wanted to be part of this stuff in the first place? How about for those of us that have always maintained intellectual purity, where we just said there are certain principles that we agree with, and when our people are doing them, great. If the other team does them, great. And if they're not doing them, shame on all of them, no matter who you are.
You know, you're a great guest here. I want to get to this first. You know, you have been really vocal about some of the cancerous rot pretending to be part of our movement. You know, a lot of this stuff going on right now with the Charlie Kirk conspiracies, what Candace is putting out there. And I've addressed this on a bigger picture, how we can never become the cannibalistic left that starts eating its own. They did this. The left did this to itself. They destroyed their movement with men in the women's room, defund the police, just raw stupidity. But Graham, unfortunately, there are people infiltrating our movement that are using this old, tried and sadly not true technique, but it does work, of overloading and bombarding people with facts and totally underwhelming people with evidence.
Does anyone know what that was? If you can translate that from Bongino speak, maybe you guys spent more time listening to Dan Bongino than I did, but like, what is overwhelming people with facts but underwhelming them with evidence? The tried and not true but effective mechanisms. What does that mean? By the way, Graham Allen should be really cautious when someone says that you're a great guest on the Dan Bongino show. It means that in some future time, when it's convenient to him, he'll stab you right in the back. That's just coming from my experience. So we're going to do some tough guy talk here now. They're going to say that you can't cannibalize your own movement. You can't attack people that are part of your movement. That's what the left did with men in women's bathrooms, and then they're going to turn around and they're going to cannibalize the movement that they think that they're going to police. And it looks what they're going to claim is that this is classic Orwellian stuff. We've always been at war with Iran, right? And so these people were never actually part of the real movement. So whatever the hell that means.
That is not. Yeah. That's the mark of a moron. The way smart people work is they drown out irrelevant stimulus, irrelevant facts, and they get to the heart of the matter right away.
Kind of like people who've been leaving the Bongino show.
I'm getting tired of this shit, man. This is creating a really dangerous situation for a lot of people out there, and it's just so rotting dangerous. Our movement.
Yeah, no, and yes, I've been very vocal.
Yeah, no, but yes. Bip, 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 bip. That may be the best answer. Yep, nope, but yeah, bip, 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 bip.
Vocal about it. It's led to a lot of pain and a lot of irritation.
Yeah, pain and irritation. Try Preparation H. I hear that is a anti-inflammatory that can also reduce some of the pain. So maybe you've just got a hemorrhoid.
These people, these specific people, and the hard part is for.
I like when people start saying something and then they don't. These people, what was he about to talk about?
For me, the same that it is for you. I know these people. I know these people just like you know these people. And it's so when people attack me for saying something about Candace, I always am like, you don't know Candace. I know Candace. You know, my very first book, there's a blurb from Candace Owens talking about how much she loves me on the book. And now.
Yeah, I think you both suck. How about that? Look at this. Is Dan going through that moment where you get to do the meme, the John Hamm meme?
She hates my guts. I would argue that a lot of these people that are the cancers that we're seeing right now, you look at them, you look at the people that are either just doing the most evil and demonic, those are the keywords, right? That we're getting paid to say, evil and demonic. And I just want to make sure that
Did you cash your check? Did you get it?
I want to make sure.
Guys, we're 2 minutes into this clip and neither one of these guys has made a single point. This is the thing that blows my mind, that people listen to this.
Okay, right.
And demonic, just so we get it.
If you don't say them both, right, you don't get your mystery paycheck that magically never appears in anyone's bank account.
What I loved is that fake campaign that's been proven fake. They had they said that I was the ringleader on the paper there, and that you and Ben Shapiro were also there. And I'm like, well, why am I the ringleader if Dan Bongino's getting paid to do this stuff anyway?
Yeah, why are either you guys a ringleader when nobody is talking about Epstein? If we can, we just want to talk about how Candace Owens is a problem.
Moving forward.
All right, so that's as much as I can handle. That was 2.5 minutes of no answers, but yeah, that's the unseriousness of what we're dealing with right now. How many of them are looking and saying, you know, our administration is not handling the domestic agenda that needed to be handled, that we got a guy in, we thought we are going to get Dan Bongino, deputy director of the FBI, who's going to de-weaponize it. And instead, what are they going to do? They're going to go after Tucker Carlson, who's the cancer in our movement. Okay. They spend all their time bitching about other people and none of the time saying, we won, we are now in power, we're now going to execute on it. That's it. They don't want to win because when they win, then they don't get to complain. So what do? They go to complain about people that are not doing enough of what they want to do. They're not talking about how good we are when we suck. It's really an incredible kind of feat to watch when you just see that the entirety of the MAGA movement that is at the leadership level, whatever that is, the thought leadership level, the actual Donald Trump version of it, they can't win. So all they want to do is complain. I want to cheer on victories. Can we get some victories? There's 20 core promises. When they shut down the border, we're like, great. Now you got to get everybody out. Oh, you're not going to do that. Oh, we're not going to make America affordable again. Oh, you're just making all that. Oh, you're going to delete the thing. You're going to just delete the pages that said what you were going to do. And we're going to just completely ignore things like, I don't know, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the fundamental freedoms, de-weaponization. And we're also going to just start new wars. Because why the hell not? Donald Trump is going to succeed in uniting people, but it's going to be against him. There are more messages I get every day from people saying the funniest thing, the saddest thing. They're like, I'm going to cheer when they impeach him and they put him in prison. And so I said this from the beginning, and I will continue to say it. The thing that I think is so critical for like, I don't know how they missed it. The left doesn't seem to miss. And so what we're going to see is that his life is on the line. He's in a fight to the death, and he's pretending like he should be bitching about the media and propping up Mark Levin. Freaking crazy. Let's do something funny. All right. I'm not even gonna plug it, but check out Spotify, check out Kyle Seraphin Show. Make sure you guys have that bookmark, just in case they pull us off YouTube for some reason. Let's do some jokes. Can we do jokes? I like Ben Barkas. He's a Canadian. He came to Austin. He works out of California, or I think he works out of Texas now, rather. And he makes fun of Indian people. This one's for Laura Loomer, who made fun of Indian people and then went on an apology tour. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Ben Barkas.
How's everybody in the front row? This guy just looked at his watch. What time is it? Where are you from, man? Brooklyn? Nice. Indian girlfriend? Guyanese. They're making up new shit every day, man. Yeah, it's a mix with a guy and a Chinese guy. I don't know what the fuck it is. No, I know what it is. It's a good old-fashioned colonization. I like that. I actually usually can tell Guyanese. You don't look that Guyanese. You look more, you know. You look like you work at Newark Airport. That's what you... How did you two meet? Bumble? What was the first date? Restaurant? Did you fuck? No? You made him wait? Nice. How many dates? She was on her period. Is that where she got the red dot on her forehead? Nice. That time of the month. It's awesome. There's like some weird Jew next to you, like, hey, I get. I love Indian people, but even they'll admit, like, even when Indian people walk in a room of Indian people, they're like, oh. And like the Indians, they do it when they walk into a room full of white people. They go, oh my God, it smells like shampoo in here.
All I wanted to show was people doing impressions to make fun of people is how we stay sane. That's all. I like Ben Barkas. He seems really, really inappropriate in 2026, but he would have been a normal comedian in the early 2000s, in the 1990s. I'd take that in a heartbeat. Anyhow, we'll go back and do more of that. I hope you guys have a good start to your week. It's Monday, so we got a whole week of insanity coming up. I'm confident of it. If Mark Levin is the hero, Lindsey Graham is the MAGA, and Donald Trump is excommunicating Tucker Carlson, excommunicating him, who knows where it can go. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Have a good rest of your day today. God bless you.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.